On a farm, long ago, a mama duck sat on her nest. "How long must I wait for my babies to hatch?" she said. "I have to sit here all along, and no one comes to visit me." But what could she do? A mama duck must keep her eggs warm till they hatch. At last, the eggs began to crack. One by one, yellow ducklings stepped out of their shells. They shook their wings and said, "Quack, quack." "Look at all of you," said Mama Duck with joy. "You are all so cute." "Quack, quack," they said. Mama Duck said, "Come and line up. We will go down to the lake for your very first swim." She counted. 1, 2, 3. "Oh dear," she said, "I should have another egg." But one large egg was still in the nest. "Well," said Mama Duck, "it looks like that big egg will take more time." So she had to go sit on her nest again and wait some more. The next day, the big egg started to hatch. Out came a baby boy bird. But if one may say so, it was an odd-looking thing. This bird was much bigger than others. He was not yellow at all. He was dark gray from his head to his feet, and he walked with a funny wobble. One of the yellow ducklings pointed. "What is that? He cannot be one of us." "I have never seen such an ugly duckling," said another. "How can you say such a thing?" said Mama Duck in a strained voice. "You are only 1 day old. Your brother hatched from the very same nest as you did. Now line up. We will go to the lake for your very first swim." Yet the other ducklings quacked, "Ugly, ugly, ugly." The ugly ducklings did not know why the other ducklings were yelling at him. He took the last spot in the line. Each yellow duck jumped in the river and swam behind Mama Duck. When it was his turn, the ugly duckling jumped in and started to paddle too. "At least he can swim," Mama Duck said to herself. When they left the water and started to play, the ugly duckling tried to play with his brothers and sisters too. They yelled, "Go away! We will not play with you! You are ugly and you walk weird too!" When Mama Duck was close by, she would not let them talk in this way. "Be nice," she would say, but she was not always close by. "Why won't they let me stay here?" said the ugly duckling to himself. He hung his head down low. "Ah, they are right. I should go." That night, the ugly duckling flew over the farmyard fence. He flew till he landed on the other side of the lake. There he met the flock of ducks. "Can I please stay here for a while?" said the ugly duckling. "I have nowhere else to be." "What do we care?" said one of the ducks. "Just don't get in our way." Woof, woof! Suddenly, a big hungry dog came tearing by chasing the ducks. They quickly flew up the air and their feathers fell down on the ground. The poor ugly duckling froze in fear. The dog sniffed and sniffed at the ugly duckling, then turned away. I am too ugly even for the big hungry dog to want, said the ugly duckling with his head hung low. The sky turned dark. Crack! A bolt of lightning. Then came a big storm, with heavy rains pouring down from the sky. In just moments, the ugly duckling was soaked through and through. Then a cold wind started to blow. Brrr! He said with both wings held close to his chest. If one there was a place I could get dry. All at once, a tiny light blinked far off in the woods. Could it be someone's hut? He flew to the door. Quack! Said the ugly duckling. The door of the hut cracked open. What is all this noise? Said an old woman, looking right and left. Her eyes were not that good. Then she looked down. Ah, look at that. It's a duck. She picked up the ugly duckling and dropped him inside her hut. You can stay here, but only if you lay eggs, she said. A tomcat and hen crept up to the ugly ducklings. Why do you think you are coming in here and taking up room by the fire? Said the tomcat. Scrap, said the hen. I don't need anyone else in this hut laying eggs. Don't worry about that, said the ugly duckling. I am a boy duck. Then why are you still here? Said the tomcat. Did you not hear that the old woman said? Get out of here, pretender, clucked the hen. Get out, hissed the tomcat. The door was still a bit open, so our poor ugly duckling slipped out the door and back into the straw. No one ever wants me, said the ugly duckling with a tear in his eye. The storm ended. Soon he found a new lake. Looking into the water, the ugly duckling saw the reflection of a flock of large white birds flying. He looked overhead and could not believe what he saw. There, above him, were the most beautiful birds he had ever seen. Their long white bodies and slender necks seemed to just glide through the sky. He watched until the very last bird had winged its way out of view. He stayed at the lake all by himself, and time passed. The leaves of the trees turned deep red and gold, and then the leaves fell into the ground. Winter came, set in a blanket of white snow all over. The cold wind and the dark clouds made the ugly duckling feel even more sad. He had to go into the cold, cold lake to fish, but it was not getting harder to swim. The lake was turning to ice. One day, it was all he could do was to paddle the water to keep it from freezing around him and trapping him in the lake. I'm so tired, he said, paddling with all his might. The ice got thicker and drew closer to him. In a moment, two giant hands sipped him up. You poor thing, said the farmer. He held the ugly duckling closer to his thick wool jacket and took the birds to his home. Never was a warm fireplace more welcome. For the rest of the winter, the farmer cared the ugly duckling.
Come, sister, we can play with this ugly duckling. Quack! Quack! Please help me!
The poor duckling was terrified of the children and escaped. The ugly duckling spent the winter in a marshy pond. The spring came. Tip of green covered the trees. Short bright flowers popped up from the ground. Gosh, I feel strong, said the young bird, fluffing his wings. Why I never felt as strong as I don't right now. He heard quiet splashes sounds behind him and turned around. A flock of those same beautiful birds he had seen in the sky before landed behind him on the water. Don't worry, he said to them, holding out one wing. I will go now. I will not make trouble for you. A big flat tear rolled down his cheek. He turned to go away. When he opened his eyes, he saw a reflection in the water, one of those beautiful white birds. Why was it so close to him? He jumped back, and the reflection jumped back too. What is this? He said. He stretched his neck, and the reflection of the beautiful bird stretched its neck too. Why are you going so soon? Said one of the beautiful birds. Stay here with us, said another. We'll be great friends. Then the bird who used to be the ugly duckling knew what had happened. He was no longer an ugly grey bird that wobbles when it walks. It matters nothing if one is born in a duckyard, if one has only lain in a swan's egg. He was not an ugly duckling anymore, but a handsome young swan. Now he knew why he had looked so different from his brothers and sisters. They were ducklings, but I was a baby swan, was not an ugly duckling anymore, but a handsome young swan, he said to himself. Into the garden came little children, who threw bread and corn into the water, and the youngest cried,
There is a new one.
and the other children shouted joyously.
Yes, a new one has arrived.
And they clapped their hands and danced about, and ran to their father and mother. And bread and cake were thrown into the water, and they all said,
The new one is the most beautiful of all, so young and handsome.
He was so happy and yet not at all proud. He thought how he had been persecuted and despised, and now he heard them saying that he was the most beautiful of all birds. Even the elder tree bent its branches straight down into the water before him, and the sun shone warm and mild. Then his wings rustled, he lifted his slender neck, and cried rejoicing from the depth of his heart, I never dreamt of so much happiness when I was the ugly duckling. My dear little children, here are the moral values of the ugly duckling. Don't treat people differently because they look different, or never judge by their appearance. Don't be let down easily, and it's good to care about others. Thank you, my dear little children. Hope you all enjoyed the story about the ugly duckling. I will come to see you again with another interesting story. Stay safe. May Triple Gem bless you.